Hello everyone, I am Sana and welcome to today's lecture which is about Erich Fromm's model of healthy personality. Today's lecture will be covering 4 major objectives which will improve your understanding of Erich Fromm's concept of productive person, Erich Fromm's approach to personality, motivation of healthy personality which will include 5 needs proposed by Fromm, and lastly, nature of healthy personality. So, let us begin with the Erich Fromm's concept of productive person, which is his model of healthy personality. In order to understand this concept, it's important we know briefly about those circumstances that made Fromm develop the concept of productive person. An attractive and bright young woman who was a family acquaintance when Erich Fromm was 12 years old committed suicide. This catastrophe, for there appeared to be no logical explanation, severely shook Fromm. Nobody could comprehend her decision to take her own life. The incident greatly affected Fromm, but it was not his first encounter with irrational behavior, nor would it be his last. Fromm, who was the only child of neurotic parents, grew up in a difficult home. His mother was prone to episodes of severe depression, and his father was moody, anxious, and morose. Fromm witnessed the irrationality that engulfed his German homeland at the age of 14 as World War I broke out. The level of hostility prevalent throughout the nation astounded him. Numerous relatives and senior friends died in the trenches, and friends and acquaintances were also affected. These incidents deeply troubled Fromm. He began to wonder, why decent and reasonable people suddenly all go crazy? Fromm's confusing experiences gave rise to his attempt to comprehend the nature and causes of irrational human behavior. Above all else, the effects of World War I on the German people gave him a direction for his search for the solution. He started to believe that significant social, political, and historical forces had an impact on the development of human personality. This notion was furthered by Fromm at the University of Heidelberg. Karl Marx, Max Weber, and Herbert Spencer were among the prominent economic, social, and political theories that he studied in depth. He completed psychoanalytic training in traditional Freudian analysis in Munich and Berlin after getting his PhD in 1922. He briefly believed that the writings of Freud contained the solution to human irrationality, but this did not satisfy him for very long. Fromm developed and refined his own theory of personality in the years that followed. In his approach, personality is depicted as being shaped by historical forces that have influenced the evolution of human species, as well as by social forces that have an impact on a person throughout their formative years. Fromm wrote, I quote, "We are what we have to be in accordance with the necessities of the society in which we live." Given the importance of social and cultural factors, Fromm thinks it is essential to examine both the history and present structures of society in order to understand the structure of its individual members. Understanding and shaping human personality so depend on the social structure. The culture should reflect the individual. Whether a personality is healthy or unhealthy depends on the culture which fosters or stifles human development. Let us now discuss Fromm's approach to personality. Fromm believes that culture shapes personality in a significant way. As a result, he thinks rather than focusing on how well people adjust to society, we should define mental health in terms of how well society meets the fundamental needs of all people. The key factor is how sufficiently a society satisfies human needs. An unhealthy or sick society fosters antagonism, suspicion, and distrust in its citizens and prevents the full growth of individual selves. Developing love for one another, being productive and creative, honing and refining their powers of reason and objectivity, and facilitating the formation of fully functioning selves are all possible in a healthy society. According to Fromm, we all have an inherent need for harmony and love, a desire for productive living, and a desire for emotional health and well-being. But irrational and neurotic behavior results when social forces obstruct the natural tendency for growth. Fromm's thorough study of human evolution provides several examples of behaviors that were deemed beneficial in one culture or time period but harmful in another. Fromm describes loneliness and insignificance as the core of human experience as a result of his historical analysis. He examines how our evolution from lower animals has led to the historical and existential differences in human nature. Although stability and the sense of belonging were sacrificed, this process resulted in a great degree of freedom. According to Fromm, we are unique and lonely creatures. We have transcended nature as a result of our evolution from lower species. We are no longer at one with it. Our behavior is not governed by instinctive mechanisms like that of animals. However, our capacities for self-awareness, reason, imagination are what distinguish humans from lower animals in the most significant ways. Humans are aware of their ultimate helplessness, impending death, and distinction from both nature and other creatures. Because of this, reason and creativity are both a blessing and a burden. Greater freedom than lower animals is a result of knowledge and awareness, but it also means isolation from the rest of nature. Humans are homeless, and the more freedom and security we have gained over the millennia, the more insecure we have become. Now, let me bring your attention to another objective of today's lecture, which is the motivation of healthy personality. We are motivated by the same basic physiological requirements that all animals have, like hunger, thirst, and sex. The psychological demands that higher animals lack have a significant impact on personality. These demands drive healthy and unhealthy humans alike. The distinction lies in how these wants are met in each case. Psychological demands are met by healthy people in innovative, productive ways. They are unreasonably satisfied by unhealthy people. Fromm proposed 5 needs which derive from the freedom-security dichotomy. Let us discuss them one by one. The first one is relatedness. Humans are aware of the loss of their primary ties with nature and one another. We are aware of how independent and helpless and separate each of us is. As a result, in order to replace our lost connection to nature, we must seek out new connections with other people. Fromm believes that satisfying this need to connect with or unite with others is essential for psychological health. Irrational behavior, even insanity, is the inevitable result of failure to satisfy this need. Finding relatedness can be done in a variety of ways. Some are detrimental, while others are constructive. By submitting to someone else, a group, or an ideal like God, a person may attempt to become one with the world. By submitting, a person joins something or someone greater than themselves and ceases to be alone. Another option is to try to relate to the world by dominating it and by making other people submit to you. Love is the best method to interact with the outside world. This addresses the demand for security while also allowing for uniqueness and sense of integrity. Fromm does not limit his definition of love to the erotic sense. It also encompasses the love a parent has for their child, a love a parent has for themselves, and a more general sense of solidarity and affection for all people. Narcissism, the root of irrational behavior, develops when the demand for relatedness is not met in any way. The only reality for narcissists is their own desires, feelings, and thoughts. They are unable to relate to others or to the outside world because they are entirely focused on themselves. Instead, they see everything from their own subjective point of view and are unable to objectively experience anything beyond themselves. The second need is transcendence. Human need to rise above or transcend our passive roles as creatures is closely related to the need for relatedness. Aware of the accidental nature of birth and death, of the random character of existence, human beings are driven to transcend the state of having been created to become instead creators, active shapers of their own lives. According to Fromm, creation, whether it be children, ideas, art, or tangible objects, allows people to transcend the passive and accidental nature of existence and find meaning and freedom. He wrote, I quote, "If I cannot create life, I can destroy it." According to Fromm, Destructiveness is the antithesis of creativity. Destroying life also makes you transcend it. A person can overcome the passive state by destructive behaviors. Like creativity, destructiveness involves interaction with the outside world. The only options available to a person are to create or destroy. There are only two ways to experience transcendence, that is through love or hatred. The third need is rootedness. Losing our main connections to nature is the root cause of human condition, which is characterized by loneliness and insignificance. Without these roots, a person is completely helpless, which is an awful state. New roots must be put down in order to replace the previous connections to nature. Like the other needs, rootedness can be achieved in either a positive way or a negative way. The best way to accomplish this is to cultivate a sense of brotherhood with other people, as well as a sense of involvement, love, concern, and participation in society. This sense of collective solidarity meets our need of rootedness, connectedness, and relatedness to the rest of the world. Maintaining childhood incestuous links with the mother is an unhealthy way to establish rootedness. Such a person, in a way, is unable to leave home and clings to the safety of these early maternal attachments. Incestuous ties can impact the whole family unit as well as the community as a whole, in addition to the mother-infant relationship. The fourth need is sense of identity. Additionally, human beings need a sense of identity that sets them apart from other people in terms of their perceptions of who and what they are. Individuality, the process by which a person develops a clear sense of identity, is the appropriate approach to gratify this need. The extent to which we succeed in severing the incestuous relationship with our family, clan, or country determines the extent to which we each experience a distinct sense of selfhood. Adhering to the traits of a nation, ethnicity, religion, or career is the unhealthy approach of establishing a sense of identity. In this sense, identity is defined in relation to the collective characteristics rather than personal characteristics. The conforming self is not untrue, it does not belong to the individual exclusively, and it will prevent the person from achieving full humanness. Coming to the fifth and the last need, which is a frame of orientation. Finding a context or frame of reference to comprehend all of the world's happenings is related to the search for a unique sense of self. Each person needs to develop a coherent worldview that enables them to make sense of all experiences and events. Reason is the ideal foundation for the frame of orientation, since it allows a person to form realistic and impartial view of the world. Fromm places a high value on the ability to objectively perceive reality. We are more in touch with reality and, as a result, more mature and capable of navigating the world if our perspective is more objective. Irrationality is a less ideal way of creating a frame of orientation. This involves having a subjective perspective on the world. Experiences and events are seen not as they actually are, but rather as the individual would like them to be. Unfortunately, this viewpoint distances the individual from reality. In Fromm's perspective, there are healthy and unhealthy ways to meet each of these five needs. Moving forward to the last objective of today's lecture, which is the nature of healthy personality. Fromm offers a precise picture of the healthy personality, a strong feeling of self, a sense of being anchored in the world, a sense of being in control of one's own destiny, the absence of incestuous connections, and unconditional love are all characteristics of such a person. Additionally, they have highly developed reasoning abilities, they are creative and have an objective view of the world and themselves. Similar to Maslow's self-actualizing individual and Alpert's mature personality, Fromm refers to the healthy personality as having productive orientation. It represents the fullest utilization or actualization of human potential. Fromm emphasizes that by using the word orientation, it is a general attitude or viewpoint that covers all facets of life, including the intellectual, emotional, and sensory responses to other people, things, and events in the world, as well as to oneself. Since we frequently identify the word productive with the creation of things like tangible items, artistic works, or conceptual ideas, it may be misleading. This is much more to this according to Fromm. It could be helpful to consider complete functioning, self-actualization, loving, openness, and experiencing as synonyms for productivity. The self, the person's most valuable product, is the one area where a healthy, productive personality does generate anything. Healthy people give birth to all of their potentials, become whatever they are capable of becoming, and fulfill all of their capacities. What Fromm means by the productive orientation may be better understood in light of four more facets of the healthy personality. These are productive love, productive thinking, happiness, and conscience. Let us briefly understand them one by one. Starting with productive love. It is a free and equal human relationship in which the partners are able to maintain their individuality and uniqueness. One is not engulfed or lost in the love of another. Instead of being shrunk in productive love, the self is extended and given the ability to fully blossom and flourish. Although one feels related, they still retain their freedom and a sense of self. One of life's more challenging accomplishments is the ability to attain productive love. We don't fall in love. We have to work very hard for it since productive love requires four difficult characteristics, which are care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. To care for, be deeply concerned for, and promote the growth and development of another person is to love them. Additionally, loved ones are looked upon with respect and their individuality is accepted. They are loved for who and what they are. Next is productive thinking. Intelligence, reason, and objectivity are all necessary for productive thinking. A keen interest in the subject of thought drives the productive thinker. He or she is affected and bothered by it. The relationship between the thinker and the object of thought about makes it possible for the latter to approach the former with impartiality, respect, and compassion. Instead of concentrating on discrete aspects of the phenomena under study, productive thinking considers the issue as a whole. According to Fromm, all important discoveries and breakthroughs include productive thinking, where the thinkers are driven by care, respect, and concern to impartially assess the totality of the problem. Following the productive thinking is happiness. It is a core part and a result of living with productive perspective. It goes hand in hand with all the productive activity. Happiness is a condition that improves the entire organism, resulting in greater vitality, physical health, and the fulfillment of one's potential. It is not just a good feeling or mood. Productive people are happy people. Fromm claimed that happiness is our greatest accomplishment and that experiencing it is evidence of one's success in the art of living. Lastly, Fromm talks about conscience. According to him, there are two types of conscience, authoritarian and humanistic. An external authority that has been internalized and influences a person's behavior is represented by the authoritarian conscience. The fear of punishment for breaking the moral code of authority, which could be parents, the state, or any other group, governs behavior. If the actions of a person go against the moral code, he or she feels guilty. As far as humanistic conscience is concerned, it is the self's love, not the voice of an external agent. The healthy personality uses internal and personal rules of behavior. The person acts in a way that is appropriate for the full functioning and complete development of their personality, acting in a way that makes them feel content and satisfied within themselves. In effect, the person is stating, I will do this because I owe it to myself, as opposed to, I must do this because my parents or the culture demand it of me. As a result, the productive, healthy personality is self-regulated and directed. We already explored how Fromm defined mental health in terms of society, since social structures can either promote or inhibit psychological health. If unhealthy societies breed unhealthy individuals, then the only way to develop a productive orientation is to reside in an environment that is sane, healthy, and supportive and promotes productivity. Fromm describes this society, which is humanistic communitarian socialism, a type of society in which no one is exploited for anything other than their own maximal self-development. Love, human solidarity and fraternity, responsible participation in one's own life and in society, self-directed behavior, and the full productive use of every single human being are the guiding principles of this society. We do not, of course, live in such a rational society. Although our society is far from the ideal, this does not preclude us from achieving some level of psychological health. Fromm contends that while partial productivity is attainable in our current social framework, full production is not possible. We must talk about Fromm's non-productive orientation, which includes receptive, exploitative, hoarding, and marketing orientation, which are the alternatives to the productive orientation if we are to understand how this is brought about. These are essentially character qualities or worldviews that individuals choose. Although one orientation is typically more dominant than the others, each person's personality is a blend of some or all these characteristics. Persons with receptive orientation are passive receivers in their interpersonal relationships. They cannot make, receive, or give love. They rely solely on other people, such as their spouse, close friends, or society. They may grow so dependent and helpless that being abandoned can paralyze them with fear and worry. The exploitative orientation is also a trait of those who follow orders from outside sources. But instead of expecting to receive from others, they are motivated to steal from them by force, deception, or any other efficient way. Again, these people can only appropriate love, possessions, even thoughts and sentiments from others because they are unable to generate or create anything on their own. Persons with hoarding orientation have no expectation of obtaining or taking anything from the outside sources. These people take comfort in holding onto and hoarding their things, concepts, or emotions. Hoarders often appear to surround themselves with walls in order to contain their possessions and not to let anything in. All aspects of these people are transformed into private property that cannot be shared or given to others. In capitalist society, the marketing orientation is the dominant personality attribute. The self or the personality of a person is valued only as a commodity to be sold or traded for success. How effectively we market ourselves determines how much we value, regard, and feel proud of ourselves. Success or failure depends more on how successfully we project our personalities to others than it does on how fully we develop our productive capacity, integrity, knowledge, or skills. Fromm has also introduced a fifth pair of non-productive orientation, which is necrophilius and biophilius. A person with a necrophilic orientation is one who is obsessed with death and disease. A person who struggles against death and decay and is concerned with the growth and development of the self is said to be biophilius, a more productive orientation. These non-productive orientations seem to be unhealthy perspectives on how we should relate to the world. However, Fromm emphasizes that each of these orientations has both favorable and unfavorable features. Each orientation covers a spectrum of behavior ranging from wholly productive to at least halfway productive. For instance, the behavioral trait, such as submissive, which is an unproductive way of behaving, can be changed into the trait of devotion in the receptive orientation, which is a more productive characteristic. The spineless trait can be changed into polite, the cowardly feature into the sensitive, and the unprincipled trait into the adaptive. Unfortunately, Fromm leaves out the specifics of how this shift from unproductive to productive occurs. It has to do in general with how strong the productive orientation is. it will be more effective at changing unfavorable aspects of unproductive orientations into more palatable ones, the stronger it is. Regarding Fromm's interpretation of healthy personality, one further query must be raised. How can one become a truly productive person? What decides whether the person's character will be mostly unhealthy or healthy, productive or non-productive? We notice that each person's development recreates the history of the evolution of the human species. The developing child feels less secure as he or she grows more independent of the mother. Being trapped between security and freedom, the youngster cope with their increasing freedom using one of three escape strategies, depending on how these parents treat them. Symbiotic relatedness, withdrawal destructiveness, and love are those escape mechanisms. In symbiotic relatedness, the child never reaches a condition of independence and freedom and remains dependent on others. Such a person, in a very real way, escapes the uncertainty of independence by assimilating into someone else, by either being submissive to others or exercising control over them. This behavior can either be masochistic or sadistic in nature. Either withdrawing from others or attempting to destroy them is a part of withdrawal destructiveness mechanism of escape. Both behaviors include keeping oneself apart from others in order to prevent dependency. The foundation for the growth of productive orientation is love, the best means of escape. This brings us to the end of the topic. Thanks for watching.